Alright, welcome everybody. Here we have this old, pretty battered book called A 14 Weeks Course in Geology. You can see this wear all around the edges. You can also see there's this very faint trace of marbling here on the edge of the paper, so you can see it more clearly here. So that was a decorative coloring on the edge of the pages. You can see it again on the top there. You can really see how worn the edges are of the covers. And it's sort of a cloth material. Then we have the spine, which you can just barely make out the gold coloring of the title on the spine. And then the back cover is just the exact same as the front cover. And it's got this border around the edges. So let's take a look. The end papers are actually these advertisements for other books in this series. So you can see this is the National Series of Standard School Books. It comprises standard works. It says, in every department of instruction and of every grade, the teacher in want of a book for any particular purpose of class will always find the best of its kind in our catalog. No other series even claims to be as complete as this. None is so extensive and so judiciously selected. Among so many volumes, a high standard of merit is maintained, as it is our aim never to permit our imprint upon a poor or unworthy book. It is also our plan to make books not for a class or sect, but for the whole country, unobjectionable to parties and creeds, while inculcating the great principles of political freedom and Christianity, upon which all right-minded persons are agreed. Hence, and from their almost universal circulation, the name National Series. Among the principal volumes are Parker and Watson's Readers, Davies' Mathematics, Barnes' Brief Histories, Monteith's Geographies, Steele's Natural Science, Clark's Diagrammer, Warman's Modern Languages, Searing's Classics. And then we've got English Language, History, Pen and Pencil, Natural Science, Important Works, The Teacher's Library. This is published by A.S. Barnes and Company. And then here we've got a little highlight of James H. Warman's A Complete Course in German. And then down here we've got more of Warman's language works for French. And it says they're unrivaled. Here is a well-written pen note giving the previous owner's name and their original location. It looks like they were from Kansas City, Missouri. And this is the title page in the frontispiece. So we can see The Story of the Rocks, 14 Weeks in Popular Geology, by J. Dorman Steele, A.M., Ph.D., Principal of Elmira Free Academy, and author of A 14 Weeks Course in Chemistry, a 14 Weeks Course in Descriptive Astronomy, and a 14 Weeks Course in Natural Philosophy. My heart is awed within me when I think of the great miracle which still goes on in silence round me, the perpetual work of thy creation, finished yet renewed forever. Bryant. And this was published in 1871. Alright, and here's the frontispiece, showing a geological sketch of the United States, reduced from Foster's Mississippi Valley. We can see these different ages listed here, the Azoic, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous. Goes on there, and it's got them all labeled on this map. And here is an important announcement. 14 Weeks in All the Sciences by J.D. Steele and others. The unparalleled success of the first published volumes of this series, 14 Weeks in Chemistry, has encouraged the publishers to prepare the following volumes on a like plan, comprising a complete course in natural science for those having but a limited period to give to these branches. They are especially adapted to public and high schools. So we can see all these different options here. These books may be found at any of the leading bookstores in the United States, or will be forwarded by the publishers by mail, postpaid on receipt of price. A.S. Barnes & Co., New York. And then here we have the dedicatory page. To my pupils, whose needs first suggested the plan of this series, and in whose appreciation and love I have found my constant satisfaction and reward, this volume is affectionately inscribed. And I just love all the different typefaces or fonts here. So much care went into the production of this book. And here is some sort of pencil list that some previous owner wrote. Can't quite make out what this says. Not sure if it has to do with the book or not. Looks like the very last one says serpentine, though. Number 9. If anybody knows what that says or can figure it out, leave a comment below. Alright, here's the preface. It says, the present work is based upon the same general plan as the preceding ones of the series. The aim is to make science interesting by omitting the minutiae which are of value only to the scientific man, and by presenting alone those points of general importance with which every well-informed person wishes to become acquainted. The thing is of more value than the name. A pleasant fact will be recollected long after an unpronounceable term has been forgotten. Therefore, only enough geological nomenclature is used to make the study systematic, to awaken a love for the order of nature, and afford a plan around which other knowledge may crystallize. Okay, here's a section for suggestions to teachers. Oh, and here's a little figure showing a geological hammer, 12 inches. And then the contents. Again, a very interesting typeface. And this introductory quote from the Bible, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth," with a really strong Gothic-looking font. This is an analysis of introduction, origin of the earth according to the nebular hypothesis, a scenic description, definition of geology, etc. Here we have the beginning, popular geology, introduction, the origin of the Earth's crust according to the nebular hypothesis. It says, our Earth was once doubtless a glowing star. In that far-off beginning it shone as brilliantly as do now the sun and the fixed stars. In process of time it cooled from a gaseous to a liquid form. It then assumed a spherical figure in obedience to the same familiar laws of force which round a drop of dew. Its atmosphere comprised not only the gases that compose our present atmosphere, but all the oxygen and carbon now locked in the rock and coal masses of the earth. Vast quantities of mineral matter vaporized by the fierce heat and in the form of superheated steam, all the water which now fills the ocean. The air, thus dense with moisture and poisonous metallic vapors, rested on a seething ocean of fire. Ages passed, and the earth, radiating its heat into space and thus cooling, began to show on its surface patches of solid substance, like the floating films that first appear on water as it passes into ice. These gradually combining, formed at last a thin crust over the entire exterior. This was, however, constantly rent asunder by eruptions from the molten mass beneath. Huge crevices were opened and torrents of liquid lava, ejected from the cracks and seams, were poured in fiery floods over the scarcely solid crust. Then it goes on to continue to describe that creation of the earth. And then here it has a mosaic account of the creation, so it just sort of counters that more scientific account with the biblical account. And with these older popular science works, it's often to see that sort of thing. Here's a scenic description. Alright, this is a figure of ripple marks, and then a figure of raindrops from modern impressions, and then a carboniferous impressions, showing a difference there. So I'm just going to flip forward. This book has a bunch of really interesting engravings or illustrations. This is the section for lithological geology, a stone discourse. In this our life exempt from public haunt finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. From Shakespeare. So here's some charts for lithological geology. The first one here showing the composition of the rocks. We've got silica, alumina, lime, silicates, then classification of the rocks, structure of the rocks. Here is a really beautiful large illustration of a cluster of quartz crystals from Lake Superior. Here's another illustration, diatoms from Albany and Waterford, Maine. This is showing an object seen through Iceland spar, crystals from Russie, New York. Oolitic marble. Hornblende crystals and quartz. So if we go forward, we can see, oh, here's another chart. So this is showing the different ages again. So Silurian age, Devonian age, Carboniferous age. Here we see a section for Azoic time, and this is showing an Azoic continent. And then we have the Paleozoic time. Here's some trilobite. Oh, and here's a really large illustration of trilobites of the Trenton period. Quite detailed. Got some more beautiful illustrations here. Niagara coral. Here we have Niagara crinoids. Also really detailed, these. Fragment of encrinital limestone. Pentamerus gilatus. Here's a few different fishes of Devonian Sea. Oh, and here's some Carboniferous fossils, showing a few different types that are labeled at the bottom here. And then on the right page, we've got this scene, an ideal scene in a Carboniferous forest. Really beautiful. Another map. Showing some ammonite fossils. Belemnite restored. Here's another full-page illustration. This is showing a Swiss glacier. Oh, and this is a pretty cool section here, showing these extinct animals. So this one is showing the Irish elk. And it says, "The Irish elk was a magnificent and imposing animal. Its antlers were often 10 feet long and spread from one tip to the other a distance of 3 or 4 yards. Imagine that size. And this little fella's interesting. The Glyptodon's sculptured tooth was a mammal clad in the shell of a turtle. This defensive armor measured sometimes 11 feet in length and weighed 1,000 pounds. Here's a great illustration of cave bears and a hyena. And then this is an ideal scene in the post-tertiary period, with multiple different animals in that shot. Canyon of Grand River. And then here we're entering a section called the Era of Mind. Geology, which is the story of the rocks, finds its climax in history, which is the story of man, or humanity. So here we have a section for the Stone Age. Got an axe head there, and then an earthen vase. Here it's showing a bone pierced by an arrow, sketch of a mammoth. And then these are a row of menhirs or monuments set up on tombs. in Brittany. We've got a sort of metal blade there. So we've got a section for metal towards the end, then we've got an index, and then we've got some more advertisements at the back of the book. And then the final end papers are also advertisements for other books in this series. And I just love all the different fonts and everything and the illustrations in this book. Alright, so that was a 14 weeks course in geology. If you like the video, leave a like and a comment and subscribe, and thanks again for watching. I'm trying to get these out on a more regular basis. Sorry it took a little while this time. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Okay, bye.